Several years ago, I was part of a consulting firm with a friend. We had been called to visit with potential clients in Massachusetts. The company made very high-end paper for such things as annual reports, and had recently been sold to a Japanese firm. Dan and I met with the president, who asked us to walk with him around the company. As we walked together, he had little to say, until he finally stopped and turned to both of us with tears in his eyes. And he asked, "Would you be proud to have your father work here?" Both Dan and I understood. As a Japanese, he was talking about would our fathers experience pride and honor and dignity in that particular workplace. Looking around, we both answered we would not. He then said, we were to work with leadership to change that within the next 6 months when he was scheduled to return. I never forgot that experience, and as a result, whenever I visited an existing client or customer, I was always careful to be observant about organization, about cleanliness, communication, management, employee relations, attractiveness of the physical workplace, and my sense of how happy people were in their jobs. Since beginning an interim ministry, I've applied somewhat the same approach. Occasionally, such an evaluation can be difficult to deliver for real leadership. And so I understand it can relate to how Jesus was doing in his chapter of Mark. Several teaching moments emerged from Mark 3. Here are two that I think are important at this time in the future of our church. People and even family members were accusing Jesus of being out of his mind because it was thought that Jesus' words and actions did not conform to the accepted teaching authority. Jesus' ethic of love versus a tough attitude, the use of force, and his challenging the sanctity of progress over human welfare. Of course, Jesus acted out of kindness and love, and rather than being mad, we know him to be the way, the truth, and the life. Has anyone ever told you that you were mad or crazy because of something you either did or said? How many inventions or new ideas would not exist if we all listened to our critics who thought us mad or crazy? Innovation and creativity don't necessarily follow convention, and neither did Jesus, and neither should we. The last several years of the pandemic have left our church in what many feel is an awkward place. Membership is down, as is giving, which maybe is the opportunity we need to paint a new future on a blank canvas, to dream the impossible dream, and to surprise ourselves with our own creativity and forward thinking. It won't be easy. It will take hard work, cooperation, and looking at lots of options with new eyes. It will be an opportunity to stretch and grow our creative minds and live out our faith in God and indeed in each other. I think personally that this church is nearing the tipping point of whether it can continue or it will become a legacy church and close. To seize the opportunities that await us, we need to first love one another. That's the second lesson from Mark. Jesus keeps telling us to love our neighbor and love our enemy. In fact, just love with abandon, and people will love you back. I thought I saw this yesterday. So many of the people who were here this memorial, not only with family, friends, members of the church, and guests. There was a sense of love for one another, a sense of care, a sense that we all belong here together in this place. A crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, "Your mother and your brothers and sisters are outside asking for you." And he replied, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And looking at those around him, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother." We are the sisters and the brothers and the mothers of none other than Jesus Christ, if we do the will of God. If you can believe in your heart that we will be doing the will of God and we lift this house of God up as an example for all to see what faith can do. So the first thing is to love one another, even love the person you don't like so much right now. Secondly, we need to learn to forgive. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. What's the use of saying if we don't believe it or we don't want to practice it? None of us is perfect. Only God. People can feel offended by a remark, betrayed, excluded, slighted, or a host of other things that can make us resentful, angry, and even vengeful. That's just another rock in our spiritual backpack that will hold us back and weigh us down on the journey. Remember, angels can fly because they don't take themselves seriously. It's our ego that gets in the way and gets us into trouble. As people and as a church, we want things to be our way. We want to be good. We can do a better job than anyone else. We don't get much recognition at work, so I'll get it from church. One of the persons who has touched me deeply for so many years is former President Jimmy Carter. He attends church regularly, teaches Sunday school, prays daily, and builds houses for the homeless. He has a deep faith and a positive attitude and can be a role model for many of us. Given his job as President of the United States, the disappointments he had to face, the hard decisions, and the politics, he has survived because of his faith and his willingness to give of himself to others. I guess the question is, are you willing to risk life? Are you willing to take the first step toward forgiveness? Can you envision a bright new future for this church? An example of faith in action and being disciples of Christ to the community and the world? Can you teach a Sunday school class, lead worship or Bible study or a small ministry group? Can you organize an outreach project? Are you bothered when things are out of place and need repair or replacement? Take a moment and search your heart. Are you called to serve? Can you rise up and sing, "Here I am, Lord, is it I, Lord? I have heard you call in the night. I will go, Lord. If you need me, I will hold your people in my place. God needs you. God needs me. God needs this church. Jesus needs you. Church is dependent on us for its future. And most of all, we need each other. We need to love one another. We need to forgive one another. We need to hold each other's hands as we journey through this life. I think this is a special opportunity. And one of those things that wasn't written as part of this sermon, that I felt this morning as I had my third cup of coffee, is that there's something special about being together. There's something special about sharing with one another. When I was ordained, I was given the option of becoming a settled pastor or an interim pastor. And I chose, because of the work I had been doing, to be an interim pastor, and that I would go from church to church as the need dictated. I asked one of the people who ordained me what he thought was the secret of success in being ordained as an interim. And he said, you have to love them. If you can't love them, you'll never help them. You'll never be part of that community and what it needs to be. Yesterday for me, in fact last week, became very special. I started to really feel like I was in love with this congregation, with this church. Not intellectually, but emotionally. I had a conversation earlier in the week with a church member, and I was so glad to be there, to be helpful to that person. And then yesterday, I saw so many people helping each other, helping the family that was grieving. And I really felt that was the nucleus of the future. That is who we can be. That is our future, if we will let it be our future. And I knew then also that I really was in love with all of you and of this church. I hope you will also feel that. Feel that in yourself. Feel that sense of love and commitment for one another and for this church. It's not just romantic. It's quite practical. Because it will give us the spirit, it will give us the energy to begin to move forward, to be what I know we can become. Amen.